Hi everyone, I'm Linda Deir and
I'm Ray Holly.
I'm the author of Guided. Her spirit guide angels were her best friends and life coaches. Actually, Guided is my flagship book, and it pretty much launched all this because it talks about, it's a true life story. It talks about my life from the time before I was 20 months old, when I first met my spirit guide angels, when they appeared all around me and they saved my life. So that's where my relationship with my spirit guides and angels began, and it's just gotten better throughout my life. So through my book, I explain how it works in my life so you can understand how it really works in your life, all right? So that's my flagship book. Now, tonight what we're going to be talking about is my guided journey. And this is my fourth book. It's available on my website. Ray's going to put the link up for that on the feed so you guys can see it there and just get it. It is a free download. So sign up for it.
Free? How did that happen? Did you run that through the marketing department?
No, I ran it by my guides, Ray, and they said this one will be free. So you can get this on my website, right there on the homepage on the right-hand side.
And
so
there's the link.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Ray. And this is something you probably want to have because as we go through this, it'll give you a greater understanding of how this all works. Again, my flagship book, Guided, explains how I did it. But this is how you do it, okay, at wherever you are in your life right now. There's 3 parts to my guided journey, and we are working on part 2. So I'll explain how that works once we get going here. And I'm going to read what we're going to do here, all right? And here I go. The subject the guides are going to talk about tonight is compromise. Now, we're on page 12 of part 2 of my guided journey, compromise. It was when you were in your preteens that you felt your life was first dominated with compromise. Included in this compromise was the reality of no longer having a connection to us, your spirit guides and angels. This made living in just this world a very lonely place. A quiet reserve took over as you assessed the dilemma of just living in this world. After the guides finish with their opening message on compromise, you can start posting your questions regarding areas where you feel compromise dominating your life. And to do this on the video where it says, click for more, it'll take you to a new screen where you can put your questions in on the right side, all right? And we use Ask the Universal channel for the guides to communicate their messages to you. Ray is the one, pardon me, they assigned to speak out their messages on this board. And Ask the Universal channel is a trademarked product of our parent company, Channeled Readings. And Ray just put another post up.
Yeah, if you want to find out all about Ask the Universal channel and the story behind it, I'm going to put the link up.
Thank you, Ray. All right, so most of you know about how this all works because most of you got my book. So you get what this is, all right? And for those of you that have received my book, you've bought my book, you also know about Ray. Ray comes up in part 4. There's 4 parts to Guided. And he comes up in part 4 of Guided and turned everything around. Actually, he was sent in divinely to me. And I really didn't think I would ever meet anybody or get married again or have that type of thing. But this time they said, he's the one. And so here he is. Okay, so let's see what we have here, Ray. Okay, so the guides are going to open the session about compromise. And here they go.
Compromise is not a two-way street. Compromise is a situation where one person gives up part or all of something, and the other person gains something. It is not an equal give and take. People compromise when they feel they need something more than what they already have. They are looking for someone or a situation to fill in what they feel they lack. It's this feeling of lack that makes people compromise. This feeling of lack could be financial, or feeling not good enough, or smart enough, or able enough to move forward on your own. Although compromise may seem like the thing to do to move a decision or event forward, it becomes a habit. This habit of compromising, of giving away your power to someone else, can only end up down the road with a lifetime of regrets.
Okay, so
Let's see.
Okay, so you guys, your spirit guide angels will take your questions. They will be telling you what they see as the most important thing for you to know in your life right now. All right, Ray, so what do we have?
Well, let's see. Got a long. There we go. Got 5 or 6 people here. No questions yet. Don't be shy. Put your questions in there.
Yeah.
We do have some questions that came in email.
Yeah. So we'll start with one of those.
Amy in Dallas.
Put it over here where you can see it better.
Yep.
Put the paper here. There you go.
All right. Amy from Dallas asks, I never realized how compromising was so detrimental to who I was and why I'm here. How do I get out of my almost 20-year compromised relationship? I feel buried and helpless. Amy.
Okay, Amy, you've done this for 20 years. You've compromised, and
Wow.
that's a long time.
That is a long time.
At that point, the person you're with pretty much expects you to yield to them and move in their direction and continue to them it's normal. It's the way you are. It's who you are.
And it's like the guys talked about in the opening. They said once you start doing it, it becomes a habit.
Right.
And it went on, in her case, for 20 years.
That is right, because what happens is the minute you fall into compromise, the people around you expect you to continue to compromise because it makes their life easier, you know? Because now you're carrying part of their load along with your own. And they like it like that. Why would they want that to change? So let's let her guides come through and talk to her
Okay.
about compromise. And do we have another?
And we have no question.
Okay,
after
we're
that.
going to get to your
We'll
question.
take care of Amy first.
Yeah, since we're in this, all right. So here, her spirit guide angels are here with us, and they're going to answer her question. And here they go.
All this time, you have felt uncomfortable was our guidance. We were attempting to get you to make a course correction. However, each year you stayed, you compromised more. This made it difficult to remember who you were before you began compromising to have a relationship. You must return to the time when you didn't feel pressure to compromise in order to find yourself again. Doing so will allow you to move forward from that point, understanding why you are here.
Okay, let me finish my thought on that with her before we go to the question.
That's a tough one.
Oh, okay. So, what comes to my mind, Amy, right?
Amy and Dallas.
Okay,
Yep.
Amy. What comes to my mind is that it's kind of like when you have kids, and they take up all your energy, all your time, all your resources. I mean, they are central to your life, and you pretty much give it all up for them. And in doing that, what happens, you hear about mothers all the time going, I lost myself somewhere. And I forgot who I used to be. Who was I before this all started? And, you know, something's really out of balance here. And I need to get that together. My Guided Journey, Part 2, page 12, Compromise. That's what we're working on today. You need to start writing in there back when you first compromised. Now, again, this starts around your pre-teens when you really start feeling like you're caving in, you're giving in, you're going with the status quo, and as you got older, as you moved through your life, you kept kind of giving in a little more, and then you met some significant other, and you gave in. Who else would you would you be more willing to compromise for than your significant others or the children you have? You're going to really give it all in those situations, but to compromise is you got it wrong. You're completely out of balance, all right? It's like this is the only world, the world we live in, that you're thinking you're in when you're not accounting for who it is you are, who it was you were before all this started, and the connections you have, your connections to your own guidance, all right? And having that quiet time, those special timeouts for yourself where you get reconnected and you just know what's going on. And part 3, in the journal writing, in My Guided Journey, you start journaling what's going on with you. This is not a diary. This is a journal, okay? A diary is an accounting of certain things that happened that day. That's not what this is. This is about what it felt like, okay? Anybody could document what happened in a day, but what did it feel like, okay? That'll keep you honest with yourself so you don't go into that, right? Okay, Amy, that's what we have for you, and try to join us live next week, okay? Go ahead, Ray.
Okay, we have a couple of things here. We have Brenda from has doesn't have a question. She has a comment. She says she had to compromise her free will growing up just to survive in a very controlling religious cult.
Boy,
Well, that's hard. I mean,
you know what you did? I'm gonna step in on this because I didn't grow up with that, but I'll tell you what. I had my mother's foot on my throat, on my life force until I was 16. So it wasn't religious, but it was really radical, all right, where I had walked on eggshells for 16 years. So I get where you're coming from, but not in that vein, okay? So I can share, otherwise I wouldn't. I would tell you I never experienced it, I couldn't understand it. What you did is you didn't compromise. You put yourself on hold. You kept your real self over here, all right? Or you wouldn't be with us tonight. You may not even be on the planet, okay, if you had completely caved in and totally compromised. You didn't completely give it up, Brenda. I know you didn't. No way. Or you wouldn't be here today, and you wouldn't be aware of what happened there, and you wouldn't be getting yourself back together again, all right, in a healthy way. So although it felt so stressful and so much pressure, and you didn't know what the outcome was going to be, you really didn't know, you did preserve yourself in some way. You did.
I think the religious cult thing is particularly difficult because it's mental. It's mental fear.
It totally is. It totally is. So if you were to get over anything, and Ray brings up an excellent point there, it's not compromise. It's the fear and the programming that happened. All right? Because fear is programming. It's programmed into anyone who feels it. All right?
Kind of like Catholic school.
Well, you know about that, don't you?
That cult. I remember that cult.
So,
okay, follow up from Brenda, follow-up comment.
Yeah.
She's asking, have I compromised to have security when she's entered relationships? She says she feels like she did, and this is an interesting topic. Well, what makes you feel like you did?
Right, we need more information. Say what that is, and then we'll have the guides come in and talk to you about
Okay.
it.
Olivia's joined us.
Hi, Olivia.
From Australia. Says, I would love to have absolute clarity and resolution about how to stop compromising myself every day while having to raise my children. There's the kids again.
Wow.
You just talked about that.
Right.
Have my children, give so much time and energy to them, especially when her situation with the children and the eldest one is very difficult. It drains me of so much of my life force. I feel a deep desire to create and express myself in other ways rather than just parenting.
Okay, let's let the guides answer her on that. And here they go, Olivia.
Sometimes your compromising has to go according to someone else's schedule. You have an obligation to raise your children as well as you can, but not at the expense of having it drain all your energy and motivation to do other things. It's important to schedule alone time with yourself every day, even if you have to get up in the middle of the night when everyone else is sleeping. It will be the time you set aside to look at your own life, your own desires and ambitions and start a plan to work them in while you are raising a family. You cannot wait until all the children move out to start planning your life.
Mm-hmm. Right. In fact, what will happen when you do that, it pulls you away from the constant demands of that family. It gives you a break. So now, when you focus on what this is that you want to do, when you look at the family and the different members in the family, you can see them clearer than you used to. Instead of letting them control you, you're back in control. You got to do it.
Okay, we've got some more. We've got a response from Brenda. Let's finish up on Brenda's question. Her question was, have I compromised to have security when I started a relationship? She feels like she did, and here's what she did. When I enter into a relationship, her life gets financially better. Her financial situation improves.
Okay.
Because of the other person.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
When she ended the relationships, she lost that financial comfort. Yet she felt freer emotionally.
Right.
Okay? That's her comment.
Okay, in your particular situation, for you, you know, life isn't, if life is really comfortable and cozy and everything, it's not when we learn what we came here to learn. It's when we came into this life, it wasn't that it was going to be just all, you know, peaches and cream. We came here to learn some things, okay? So those times when you had those relationships and they helped you financially and took the pressure off, it gave you enough breathing room, okay, to get through more of that. You needed it's like a pressure cooker. You needed to take the stress off, the pressure off of you for some reason, or you wouldn't have picked those relationships. All right? But then once those relationships ended and the financial security ended with it, you were back at yourself and you know what you're here to do and what this is all about for you. It gave you a reprieve. It gave you a time out. It gave you some information about, you know, what was more important. If that relationship was more important to you than how you feel, okay, then you'd still be in it. You would have done something to make it work and keep it going. But you know, this part of you that's missing needs your attention, and it needs to be worked on more than you need the comfort of just having a roof over your head. I mean, I'm not saying that that's not important, but it's the degrees in which we seek this comfort out where it kind of gets out of hand, you know? You didn't come here. All the things that bring you comfort, you know, money and stuff like that, a car and all this stuff, you can't take any of it with you. However, you do take yourself with you and what you became in this lifetime as a result of coming here, right? So that's what your guides are, is my suspicion, what your guides are nudging you to do to course correct and go into it. And don't be afraid this time. Don't be so worried about, and don't underestimate yourself, all right? Let's let your guides talk to you.
What is it that makes people feel freer when they are not in a relationship? It's because they begin, once again, to see themselves as who they really are. People enter relationships for many reasons. For financial stability, to feel loved and desired, or to live in a big house, or just succumbing to family and societal pressures. If you enter into a relationship for financial reasons, you have to look at how well the relationship is going, especially when you've felt freer when you weren't in a relationship. A good question to ask yourself is, if you're in a relationship only because of money and you win the lottery, would the relationship end?
In other words, that's the litmus test. You know, if you had it all together and didn't need them for financial security, would you even be in it? And that just gets you real with yourself. Now, you might be in a relationship that you're compromising. You wouldn't be in it, compromise. But you're in it right now, or were in it for a while. Because compromise for you hasn't been that hard to do. You grew up in this religious situation where compromise, it was all around you. It was demanded of you. Now, whether it was real with you, like for me, when I talk about it in my flagship book, Guided, it looked like I was a pretty passive kid. I was maybe compromising, but I wasn't. I just let them think what they thought. And I had it all together. I was journaling when I was a little kid. All right, so I could make sure. That's why this is important. Write this stuff down. Date it. Keep it in chronological order. You got to do that, you guys, because you will not see it. You will not solve it. You will not resolve it and reclaim your life until you've identified what it is and can look at it like this instead of feeling it like this, where it still cripples you. Okay? That's where it's been all this time. Now, in your case, Brenda, you've gotten better. You've healed a lot of things. You've come a long way. But you still need to do the work, okay? You do. And until you do it, you're not going to be happy with Brenda. You just need to get in there, and you need to just get in there and write it in there. And make sure you follow the videos that are associated with each page in part 2 that we have on our website. You go to the blog, lindadeir.com, the blog. Go to the blog page, and under categories, you're going to see My Guided Journey. It's number 1, My Guided Journey. And we've got videos on each one of these pages in part 2, 18 of them, for you to follow before you start writing into the journey part 2, that we're on page 12 today. You won't really know how to get your mindset around it and accomplish what this is intended to do. And that's to clear the air, not muck it up. You know, you got to write it in there, so it's going to feel kind of heavy, but because you wrote it in there and you did it with the right mindset, now you've got something that you can actually see and change easily.
Well, just writing it down brings it into the ethers. It's like setting a goal. You know, if you don't write your goal down, they say you'll never reach it. And that's true.
Right.
You won't, because it's not a physical thing. It's just floating around out there. Here's this thing about people in relationships because of the financial security. It's a two-sided coin. You could win the lottery. If you're the one that needs the financial security, and you could win the lottery, and you could decide whether or not the relationship is worth it. What happens on the other side of the coin if the person that is bringing in the money, the income stops?
Oh yeah, that's the equal.
That's an equal
consideration.
Right. That would also make you think, well, why am I?
And that's the part. And see, Brenda, that's the part of you that decided to get out of the relationship, even though you don't have the financial security now. It's the part of you that got you moving on, because you don't want to live like that. That's not the life you came here to live. That is a compromised life. So you've been moving through this thing about compromise, kind of not really being in your power, being totally, you. And this is how you do it, like Ray said. But you got to write it in here. Get the journal. I think you have it, but work with it.
I get the feeling
Yeah.
that the money thing is really not the issue. That the
Right.
real issue goes back to the cult thing,
I agree with you, Ray.
where you lost control of your free will. That you stopped believing in yourself. You grew up not being allowed to make your own decisions.
Well, beat down.
Beat down. There you go.
Beat down. That's why this, in part 2, it starts with your first memory when you're a little baby.
Right.
And you may not be able to remember what happened. Part 2, page 1, fear. We're on page 12, compromise today. You may have to go all the way to page 14 or something. Start writing from there like Ray did when he took the journey. And then go back, ease back into page 1 of part 2, the fear part. And you will remember it. But sometimes you have to kind of be gentle with it and just, work in that direction. But don't go right into it. A lot of people that take the journey, in My Guided Journey, on part 2, they don't start with page 1. They start with a page that, they can start talking about, they can start remembering from, and go from there and then back. All right? That's how they've been doing it. So consider that, Brenda.
Okay. Teresa Diaz says, you mentioned in my session, she had a coaching session with Linda Monday, that there's a link on your site that shows Ray taking his guided journey.
Yes.
She couldn't find it. Can you tell her where that is?
I think it's in number 2 where it says taking the journey, right underneath my number 1, My Guided Journey, right underneath number 2, taking the journey. That's where Ray took the journey blog post is in there. All right. That's where I think it is.
What's interesting
I
about,
know it's there, in fact, as I think about it.
What's interesting about how I had to go through this, I got to page 14 before I could finish it. I went through 14 to 18, and then I went back one at a time so I could remember. So when you go backwards in your life, a lot of people can't remember things when they were little.
Until you do it this way.
Right.
Like
until,
what you're
until you
talking
walk
about.
backwards and you start remembering, oh yeah, that happened, and what happened right before that? This happened, and this happened before that. So it's important to don't think that there's something wrong that you can't remember what happened before you were 3 or 4 years old. It's all there. It's just walking back into it. That's what I found out.
Yeah, easing back into it. And then you do remember. And you go,
Right.
I can't remember. I can't believe I'm remembering this stuff, but now I am.
Yep.
Yeah. So sneak up on it, That's right. That's how to do it. But do it. Because that's where you're going to get this turned around, you guys. Guided, my book Guided, changes lives. And My Guided Journey restores lives, all right? So that's the whole point to doing this.
Olivia, I feel I have compromised myself in probably the biggest way with her anger. My dad was highly aggressive and abusive verbally, especially towards me. Could the guides please give me some insight into this anger, and while I still feel it so strongly, if anything, it really compromises me that I feel my dad was like this, though in a much more destructive way. I have always felt what is wrong with me, that I have this much anger. Well, you're the anger expert when it comes to being abused for 16 straight years.
Yeah, I get that. I think everybody has visited anger in their life, but we're going to let your guides tell you what they see. And here they go.
The anger you feel is misdirected. It's something you must let go of, since it causes stress in your life. It's not about blaming anyone for the anger. It's about the fact that you still hold on to it. This anger, if allowed to go unchecked, will affect your health in about 10 to 15 years. The thing that people do not understand is that cancer is caused by repressing anger. It literally will eat you up from the inside out.
Well, that's a warning shot, is what that is, Olivia. And you just really need to get a handle on this. That would be my wake-up call.
It's hard to tell people about forgive and forget. Somebody abuses you verbally, mentally, physically for a long period in your life, especially when you're little.
I know.
How did you handle it? I mean, you were abused physically, mentally, psychologically for 16 years.
Well, the first thing I did, it was a knee-jerk response. I didn't even think I didn't plan it or think about it. I just found myself in it before I knew it. And it was when I was fighting the bullies in the schoolyard when I was in first grade. That's when my fighting career began. I'm kind of laughing about that.
You were like a flyweight at that point.
And then at the end of my 20s, when I just went through a serious flush, it was just all blue sky. I was just incredibly successful in my real estate career as an architect, a home builder, a subcontractor. And I, all of a sudden, it just came to a screeching halt. Just stopped. And the guides came through and told me, they said, well, real estate will never be the same for you again. In other words, and then they told me, you've resolved your anger issues, Linda. In other words, real estate served its purpose. Now, I thought it was the money I was making and all the great things I got to do. I got to design these homes and build them and watch them, you know, what they, and experience what they were like when they were built. I mean, I felt like the luckiest person on the planet. I got to do all this in my early 20s, you know. And a woman, you know, in the early 70s in the construction business, that was not the norm, I'm telling you, at that time. But by the time, and all the, you know, fiascos I went through and all the shenanigans and everything with everybody, you know, pulling whatever they pulled on me in business, I worked through my anger issue without realizing it. And so when the guides brought it to my attention, they said, well, real estate will never be the same for you again, and your anger issues are under control, you know, basically. And I was like, yeah, I feel that. So without realizing it, they were working me through it because they put me on this path and I just went for it, right? And my small-minded self, my human self, thought it was just all about the money and what I got to do and look at these great houses I built. My guides knew that it was for my self-esteem for sure, but they saw it, me working my anger issues out in a healthy way. And so that's what they were really also intending. So what you have to do, make this connection with your guides. Whatever it takes, Olivia, make this connection with your guides. Get up in the middle of the night, and I know you do that anyway, and take that hour that you do and start writing. Get down and dirty with this thing. Don't mess around with this. This anger thing is, you came here, okay, you came into this life, you picked that father with all that anger, all right, as your teacher. And man, and I know that does not settle well, and I know you don't want to hear that, but that's what you did. You're too smart to pick an idiot for your father unless he served a purpose, all right? You picked him on purpose. So this guy that showed anger to you, that you watched as a little kid, and part of you took it so personally. You got angry too, you know? So it's that part. It's time for you to work this out. And when you do, that's when you're going to become a guide, a teacher, a healer for other people who have had, horrible anger, that you've learned something that is valuable to them, all right?
She made a comment here that her dad was a very angry person. He died of cancer 7 years ago.
Oh, God.
There it is.
I know. And, we had a client, I'm not going to bring up her name. Some of you guys may know her. But she tried so hard to get her anger issues worked out. And she goes, Linda, I tried so hard. And I just can't let it go. I can't figure it out. And cancer.
She blamed people.
I know. And at the end, though, she left peacefully. She had this connection with her guides, and she knew she was okay. She knew she was going to be fine. All right. And that the anger was just bigger than her. Don't let the anger be bigger than you. She was older than you. You're young.
Right.
You get this worked out. Work in your book, in your journal. You got to do it and work through it. Also, the child you have that's very challenging to you is always pushing on your buttons to resolve this anger. As soon as you do, Olivia, you're going to calm down and you're going to be effective. The word effective comes through for me, for you. Because you have it, but you're scattered and you're letting this anger control you.
Yeah. And the girl we were talking about, it was the anger and the blame, and she got cancer 3 times and died just recently.
Right.
Okay, a couple comments here. Teresa loves that you stood up for those bullied kids.
I didn't have a choice. I couldn't help
You were
myself.
like their bodyguard.
I know.
And Lori's with us tonight, Lori Phillips.
Hi, Lori.
Was your fighting career helpful to you releasing the anger?
Definitely. What it did is it showed me, I don't know if it's because I have a Libra rising, but it's that justice, and it just helped me even the scales. There was no justice in the plate on the schoolyard, in the 50s. There was no justice. It was everybody looked the other way, deal with it, it's your problem. They didn't, I don't know. It was messed up. It's more messed up now because the bullies are really out in full force now with social media. It's awful what's going on.
Right.
So I will never like the bully. The bully will always bring out
The veins in your neck.
Yeah, it will always make me stand up for the underdog. I can't help it.
Well, you couldn't stand up to your mother. She was a lot bigger than you were.
And that's where it came from. It was generated from my mom bullying me. But you guys, what's really interesting, I come back to writing again. Use your journal. Use your My Guided Journey. Until I wrote my book, Guided, it's like My Guided Journey tenfold. This book here. Until I wrote this, I didn't even realize what it was about me that fought these bullies and just couldn't stand them until I wrote the book and reflected back, right? And saw that it was my mother. It was my relief valve. It was like a pressure cooker where I could let it go. And that's what saved me. It gave me an opportunity to balance the scales and stop somebody else from experiencing what I was experiencing every day of my life with my mom. And Brenda, that would be you. These people, you are a child. These people, this cult, they bullied you. They ganged up on you. They were all unanimous about their opinion of you. That's a bully. You didn't have a chance to even become a kid and become you. They were bullying you. And by the way, anybody who does that or tries to program you, force you to do things, that's bully tactics. And it's way out of control. And it's not okay. That's how I feel about that. But I'm not, you guys, I go about, and for Olivia's sake, I go about it in a constructive way where I reach a lot more people, helping them, instead of going out and looking, I wouldn't go out and beat somebody up, but like the little child in me that didn't know any better, my only way I knew how to do something about it was to go out and beat these kids up, So anyway, I was activated then and just more effective. There it is, Olivia, more effective now, right?
All right. We got some more comments, and then I have an observation here.
Okay.
Okay, Olivia says she's trying to release it. She's trying so hard. We know you are.
And breathe a lot, Olivia.
Right.
Release this, breathe. Just let it go.
She realizes the anger is stopping her from helping others.
Right.
Teresa says the angry and nasty people in your lives are in a lot of pain.
Right.
Which doesn't excuse it, but it explains it. And for her, it helps her to deal with it and work through it. And Sarah G joined us. She was just thinking of you tonight.
Hi, Sarah.
She's writing her own book. She didn't even meet. That's good. The world needs another author.
Yes.
A good one.
Oh, I know she's going to be great.
She didn't mean to, but she just sat down and she wrote it. She was so inspired by your book, Guided. She was thinking, well, Linda's book helped so many people. I also had an abusive childhood. We must keep being on the same frequency. I've been trying to rediscover my spirituality because New Age doesn't seem to have the answers. Well, that's right. I'm looking for the answer she's looking for. She's always been fully clairvoyant. She realizes it's time to step into it. Literally has no idea what's going on, but she's writing the book every day. She's up to 10,000 words.
Very good. Very good.
That is. You need about what to have a decent book? 40,000, 50,000 words?
Right. They do books in all kinds of. They have little short books. They do 10,000 books is a short book.
Yeah, your little books have 10,000.
Yeah,
That's right.
they're little
Guided
books.
has what? How many words?
95.
95,000 words. That's a good book. She's surprised herself.
Right.
Thanks for all your guidance.
Okay.
Olivia, again, she's so emotional about this deal that she's
Yeah.
upset about.
Yeah.
And it really hurts.
Now what deal?
The anger thing.
The anger thing.
It really
okay.
hurts about how much it controls her. Thank you.
Yeah, it's permeating every part of your life. What it's doing, Olivia, it's taking your power away. All right? In fact, because people can depend on your anger, they kind of go like this. They don't take you seriously.
Right.
They're not. That's because they know you could do better and you're not doing it. They're not. Now, they may not consciously know that, but they know it. Everyone has this truth center right here. Okay, it's the truth center, and they know it. So when you feel that you're not being taken seriously, they just kind of fluff you off again. That's your wake up call. That's your I've had enough of this call. All right. So now, Sarah, your book. After I wrote Guided, you're going to love this, and I want you to go here. I want you to go to this page on the website. I don't know that you know about it, so I'm going to bring it to your attention. When I was done writing this, I've had literally tens of thousands of fans contact me through social media, email, all kinds of ways, Skype, and they've all been like, wow, you wrote this story, it was so amazing, and what about this, and what about that, and how about this and that, and whatever happened to this, and how did that work out, and all these questions, right? So what I did, if you go to my website, lindadeir.com, and you go to blog at the top, and on the blog page, on the right side under categories, click on Reflections from Guided. There's 8 trailers there. They're about 5 minutes long that cover the first 8 chapters of Guided. Guided starts out very harrowing because my childhood was, it was relentless. Go there, all of you, all right, and watch the videos in Reflections on Guided. And what you're going to learn from that, all of you, and since I'm talking to Sarah right now, you're going to find out that that's what came to me, I did those, 2.5 years after I wrote the book, right?
Yeah, it's what you learn
It's-
from writing the book.
It's reflecting on it, along with all the feedback from coaching clients and everybody who was drawn to me, right? And the depth of their coaching sessions was amazing after they read the book and realized so many things. And that's what caused me to do those trailers, because it was sad that there were so many things I didn't still understand that happened even after I wrote it, okay? So go to those trailers, Reflections on Guided, and check those out, you guys. Sarah, that's really going to help you understand, now that you've done 10,000
Words.
10,000 words for your first book. You're going to see how you know about Guided. You've listened to Guided, I think. And when you watch these videos, you're going to go, whoa. Now this is the healing that went on in Linda. This is what Linda learned from herself and from her fans. See, because when you put a book out there, you're going to have fans coming to you wanting more, and because you're going to hit a nerve, and you're going to wake them up in some way. And that's what you've got. You just created a job for yourself, and now you've got to fulfill it. You just can't let your fans flounder. You got to take care of them. All right.
Right.
So that's.
You have to be so transparent and so honest about what happened. You can't hide the things that you're so ashamed of.
Yeah, you really do. And what you find out is the more honest you were able to be when you wrote the book. I got to finish. Wrote the book. The more authentic people you're going to draw to you, which is what Guided did for me, and the more information is going to come through. It's going to kind of, just show up, and it's going to make you sad and glad. It's just going to be more than you ever thought, So it's a real journey.
I have a final comment before we get off that anger thing.
Yeah.
And people carry this anger with them, especially when you're writing the book. You're writing about an abusive childhood. People always get the standard answer when somebody tells them, well, I had a tough time growing up. They did this or that to me. They always get the standard answer, well, all you have to do is forgive and forget.
By the way,
I don't think that works.
I'm going to say this. I have a blog post about that. Can you tell that got my attention? This thing about forgiving, the only one you have to forgive is you. You don't have to forgive them. They don't. Most of the time, they do it all over again. They don't feel like they did anything wrong.
That's the problem.
They feel like everything's fine. So you're the one you have to forgive. And this blog post, I don't have it in front of me.
I'll put it up afterwards.
Ray will put it up on the feed. Look for it, okay? But it's a very different. I've had this blog post syndicated from magazines. They liked it so much. They were so shocked by what I wrote. So Ray will post that. Make sure you don't forget to ask me where that is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do, you guys, right now, and if we have more questions, we'll get to them next week. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to, because we're getting close to the hour, we're going to go ahead and close this session with the guide's closing message to all of you, all right? Not just one of you, but all of you. And before we do that, I want to say this one thing here. Next week, our Facebook Live for Thursday is moved to Tuesday, all right? Don't forget to make a note of that. So this Facebook Live on my guided journey and going through all your questions about the things that we talk about, it's going to happen Tuesday, same place, same time, right here on Facebook Live on my page, okay? And the guides will be talking about the fear returns. Now, there's a real close connection between anger and fear. So be there for that, all right? And here's
That's what started out the journal.
Is fear.
Fear.
It did. No, that's what started out guided, was fear. That's what fear was so tremendous when my mom almost killed me at 20 months old. That's when my guides showed up all around me. They physically showed up. Changed everything in my life. So they're going to be talking about the fear returns.
If people want to see a little bit about that, I just put a link up for
Oh,
the
good.
fear returns.
Oh, good. And it'll give you a little heads up about where we're going with this next week, okay? And I'll read a little bit of this. And then we'll have the guides close the session.
Okay.
All right. The first time this happened, you were very young. Moving into your early teens, when you were worried about everything. You know, insecurities were high, hormones were kicking in. You forgot what you learned with us, your spirit guides and angels. So you thought you were in this world all alone. And you forgot who you were. This is when it really got bad. This caused you to feel the pressure intensify in everything you did. It has been building up to where you are now, and it's not getting easier for any of you. Everyone is facing these same insecurities, which makes it more devastating when life seems to aim its cruel attacks at you. In reality, this was all just a test to see how healthy or unhealthy your ego really is, because it's your ego that took control when you didn't know what to do back then, at that time in your life. My Guided Journey, Part 2, page 13, The Fear Returns. That's what Ray just posted for you guys to go get freshened up on it. Give yourself a chance to connect with it, because it's Thursday now, and Tuesday comes up pretty quick. Okay, so Tuesdays from now on, meet us here on Tuesdays for this group.
Same time.
All right, so Ray put that up. We got that under control.
If anybody's interested in personal coaching sessions, I put the link up for you.
Oh, that's good.
Angel
Okay.
coaching with Linda.
Yeah, angel coaching with Linda and your spirit guides and angels. And you guys all know that Ray and I do this together. So the guides are going to close this session with their closing message to you. And here they go.
Getting back to compromise. It is something that is easy to do the first time. The second time, you may not even give it a second thought either. Soon, if you continue to give up your power to get something you believe you lack, this compromising will become a habit and ruin your life, because your habits become your destiny.
Okay, so here's what's for those of you who feel kind of stopped out before you stop letting compromise run you. What's going on is you're feeling guilty because you're not caving in, because you're not compromising. You feel guilty when they expect, especially when whoever they are, your kids or people who've been in your life for a long, long time, and they're like either your family or whatever, I don't know. And they just expect you to keep doing it. What's wrong with you? That's what you're going to see. So you're going to have to get over this guilt. How are you going to do it? You're going to write your little hands off until your fingers go numb. You're going to write down what keeps you compromising, the anger that's building up in you because you had to swallow another day of compromise, all right? Like the guide said, the first compromise went down pretty easy. Wasn't so bad. Maybe that's all right. It seemed to calm everyone down. I mean, they got off my back. They shut up. They left me alone. You guys expect to have some retaliation, all right? And you know what? When it happens, just say, bring it on. Bring it on. You guys are spoiled. You've been getting away with this for too long. I'm not doing it anymore, okay? I'm a new person. In fact, you may not even recognize me by the time I'm through this process. But you guys have pushed and pulled too hard on me, and I'm not letting you do it anymore. And you have, in order to be that strong, you got to write it in here because you don't know who that is. You haven't role played it yet. This is how you do it. This is how I did it. I was 8, 9, 10, all the way through my life, years old, when I started writing down what was going on with me so I didn't lose myself, okay? So I did it to start doing that and to get my thoughts and head around all the things that my guides were showing me and sending me. I mean, I had no one to talk to. Believe it or not, neither do you. So it's time to get into this and really get into this. And I want to see more questions come up about what you're doing here in the book, in My Guided Journey, so we can help walk you through it. So your guides can help walk you through it. All right?
And next week on Tuesday instead of Thursday, and we're going to face our fears.
Right. The fear returns. You're going to understand how that really plays out when we get to that point. Yeah. So come back and join us, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday.
Good night.
Good night.